Can you imagine if you take one of these modern day bicycle helmets back to 1968 and put it on a child? What would happen would be the other children would beat him up, or some reasonable facsimile. I remember when bicycle helmets arrived on the scene and how weird and stupid they looked. Here we are in the year 2011, and guess what? If somebody is not wearing a bicycle helmet, they look like they're fucked. Besides the fact that cops are going to get them. It looks normal now. A bicycle helmet, what used to look so abnormal and so weird, now is the status quo. Which there is a point to this. And the point is simply that what we believe, more often than not, quite often, almost always, has to do with what we've been told. All we have to be is told something enough times and we will believe it. This is our society. Tell somebody anything, virtually. I mean, they've had some scientific, I guess most of these studies have been deemed invalid because they humiliate people. But there's this one particular study that I saw on the internet recently. I think it was the internet. And there's these 5 or 6 or 10 people who were answering questions, and 9 of them were told to answer the question a specific way, which was the wrong way. And within 3 questions, the person who knew the right answers, because they were very easy questions, started answering the questions the same way the other 9 did. Bah! Fact of the matter is, if we live in an unhealthy environment, we become unhealthy. The environment we live in will dictate to us what we believe and why we believe it. The truth, almost every time, is this silly little concept that people throw around to make them feel good. And it is quickly discarded under most circumstances. People are not truth seekers. They want to fit in. They want what they want. And how does this happen? What are the dynamics of people becoming essentially saturated by their environment and becoming a product of their environment? The name of this sermon is, in fact, Where Evil Grows. Firstly, we have the Garden of Eden. This is, of course, a metaphor. In the Garden of Eden, we have clear mind and soul. Number 2, enters the snake. Number 3, the snake lies to us. Number 4, we believe the lie. Why do we believe the lie of the snake? We believe the lie of the snake because of laziness, because of lack of true spirituality, because of fear, and because of a general consensus. People want to be in the mainstream. Apparently, and I probably said this before, but 99% of Germany was behind Adolf Hitler, the most advanced, enlightened country in the world. You know, the people who weren't behind, I don't want to blow sunshine up our ass, but I will. The people who weren't behind Adolf Hitler were people like the people in this room right now. People who just didn't feel that need to fit in. People who, in fact, did not have the capacity to fit in. And there's something very beautiful about that. One of my favorite videos is a video called No Rain by this group of, what? Blind Melon. And it was this little girl dressed as a bee, and she tried to impress all these people, and they all basically spat at her. And she couldn't help it. That's who she was. And at the very end, she's crying. There's tears in her eyes, and she looks in the near distance, and there's like 20, 30, 40 people dressed just like her as bees, dancing around, having a good time. So she found her people group. It's a very, very beautiful thing. And I think the real called people of God can't get away from it. And you can see them. You can see them in the Catholic Church. You can see them in the prostitute houses, brothels or whatever. You can see them in Baptist churches. You can see them as scientists. You see them as agnostics. You see them as street people. God's people are everywhere. They're not in just a Christian church, and I surely fucking hope not. They are everywhere, and there's something about certain people, and they cannot change. Isn't that right, Happy? They are who they fucking are. So we believed a lie because of laziness, lack of spirituality, fear, and consensus. What happens now? Fifthly, we institutionalized a lie. Familiar ground here, right? This is what we do. An institution speaks for itself. They're saying basically an institution is a person now, you know? And it's not a person. It's an institution. We want to so badly to hide behind these things, to identify ourselves with these things because of our lack of identity. Jesus referred to the Pharisees as whitewashed tombs. An institution is a whitewashed tomb. You have these ideas, you have these lies, you have these constitutions that people hide behind, and they identify themselves with these righteous good things, quote unquote, and meantime, their life is shit. So we institutionalize the lie. 6, we make others believe it. The truth is the truth. The truth is out there. It is real. It does not need defense. The moment that somebody comes to you and tries to thrust their ideas upon you, I will tell you right now there's something wrong with their ideas. Why do they have... This is when people believe bullshit, this is by nature the direction they go, to overcompensate. And by overcompensating, they try to impose their ideas. I remember Chantel and I were right outside here a couple of years ago, and there was these Mormons. And one of the Mormons said to me, he said, "How you doing?" And I said, "I don't know, man. I kind of feel lost and empty, and there's a truth out there somewhere, but I have no idea what it is." and you can see their erection grow exponentially, and they approached me, and they were smiling. And I said, "I'm just kidding with you. I'm having a pretty good day, actually." They looked at me like they wanted to kill me. Joseph Smith would not have been proud. Or would he? We institutionalize the lie. 6thly, we make others believe the lie. And as we know, truth needs no defense. Lies demand to be believed. And then society moves on. Right now, apparently in Japan, I think it's Japan, one of those countries. I shouldn't say that just in case I'd hate to say that the wonderful Japanese people are doing something they're not doing. One of them, their countries, way out there, they want to rewrite their history books. And I've heard this proposed even in North America. Like they want to revamp the movies from a certain generation to take the cigarettes out. I don't know how they do it. What do you do? You have a guy going like this without a cigarette? He looks like he's fucking retarded. I don't know how, but to see that the whole idea of rewriting history, how can you learn from history if you rewrite it? This is not a good thing. I've made mistakes, and I do my best, and it's difficult for me, for various reasons, to admit my mistakes and learn from my mistakes and embrace them as part of my history. But if I do not do that, I'm fucked. Do not trust anybody who wants to rewrite their history, their personal history, or the history of their country. This is sick and demented, and it will go to a bad place. So, number 1, Garden of Eden. Number 2, enters the snake. Number 3, the snake lies to us. Number 4, we believe the lie. Number 5, we institutionalize the lie. Number 6, we make others believe it. Number 7, society moves on. There's nothing we can do about this by ourselves. We are destined to be a product of our environment. What we need are 2 things to overcome this. We need a prophetic voice, and we need fellowship with each other. We need fellowship with people that are not telling us lies, but telling us the truth. Now, sometimes the truth has to be told with a grain of salt, or watered down, whatever, because people are very fragile. And sometimes you can go too far and give them information that they're not prepared to deal with. Nonetheless, we need a prophetic voice. History does not change by people. a mass never moves on to a different paradigm. What happens is there's one poor motherfucker, one poor individual, like Martin Luther King or Muhammad Ali. Somebody has a voice and people respond to that voice. Otherwise, people are just going to have their ideas, they're going to sit on their ass with their thumb up there to one extent or another, and nothing happens. Every movement into something good, into something better, has to have a leader. That is just true. I am sorry, it is just the way it is. And Jesus Christ was that leader. And you know something, I'll tell you this, after Jesus, as I alluded to last week, after Jesus went away, almost immediately his message got watered down and perverted and twisted. However, something good came out of it. And the message of Jesus has never gone away, and I do believe the world's not coming to an end. And the reason why I believe the world's not coming to an end is because there's never truly been a voice of truth in our society. It's never really been there. And I believe before this thing collapses, there will be a voice of truth. And people will be able to have an option instead of some silly little fucking religion that's trying to get kids to stop jerking off, or God knows what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? Religion is the cloaking device. It's like the Vulcans or the Romulans or something like that. Religion is a form of godliness but denies the power thereof. Religion will attract you and offer you all these things that seem good. They appeal to your neuroses, some neuroses or another. That's what all religions have in common. They appeal to some neuroses in your life. Some appeal to your hatred of your fellow man. Some appeal to the fact that you're a latent homosexual and you don't want to get caught. Some appeal to God knows what. But all across the board, religion allows you to hide and gives you a good reason because it's right. No, you're just scared. You're scared and you're a pussy. That's what's going on. And I don't blame you. You know, and I'm not talking about anybody in this room, but I just don't blame people for being scared and frightened and, you know, pussies. I understand. Like, people are cruel out there. There's no established environment to pursue healing. You know, any place that people are getting true healing, it's in little tiny cracks and crevices. It is not in the mainstream. The mainstream has the idea of healing, but then when you get involved, you discover the only thing that gets healed is their fucking pocketbook. Very well, a whole lot better than mine. I put this in brackets. My guess is most prophetic voices have been either committed to some mental institution, have committed suicide, or have hardened their hearts and have gone away. I don't know how anybody who has a true prophetic voice that goes beyond their paradigm can survive. Our society is completely and unequivocally against it. I've met two people in my life, even heard two people in my life, who I believe had the gift of being a prophet. And both of them folded like a deck of cards at this point. And you know something? I don't blame them. No, I'm not trying to blow sunshine up my ass. I have no idea how I'm still here. Someday I think everything will make sense. The dynamics. What are the dynamics of becoming an authentic person who escapes the crap and the bullshit of our generation, or any generation? Well, just like before, number one, the Garden of Eden. Number two, enters the snake, just like before. Number three, the snake lies to us, just like before. Number four, however, and this is where we differ, we don't believe the lie. Instead of laziness, lack of spirituality, instead of fear, instead of going with the consensus, we have passion for the truth. We have humility, which allows us to be open to the truth. we have communication, real communication about our real selves. It is so easy to get healing, get what we need when things get real and people are talking about real issues, because the truth will rear its head in the midst of people trying to be authentic. If people are not being authentic, it will not rear its head. The Bible says, where two or more are gathered in my name, I am in the midst. What does that mean? Is that just like Jesus comes down spookily or something like that? No, it doesn't. It means when two people begin to talk about the truth and they're not fucking around and they're not trying to make themselves look like there's something they're not, God, in all his truth, in reality, is there facilitating and perpetuating this particular dynamic. That's what's happening. So passion, humility, communication, and community. If you do not have community, you are fucked. You need people of a like-mindedness. Even if you're a fucking troll, you know, you need people to encourage you on the... Look at it this way. People who are on the wrong path, which is easy. The wrong path is easy as hell. They need people to encourage them and help them. That's why my friend who's a secret agent said it's so easy to catch pedophiles. Like, they're unless they're like completely sociopathic, they're completely unresolved, and they're just looking for someone to talk to. So my friend would be paid to befriend these people and say how like having sex with 10-year-old girls is the greatest thing in the world. And they'll say, yeah, and then they'll just tell everything. Right? And if the bad guys need this kind of reinforcement, if the bad guys need community, and the way of sin is so easy to pursue, how much more do people who are truth seekers need community? Do you understand that? Does that make sense? So we don't believe the lie. We become organic. In other words, as I said a million times before, open to change at every stage. Open to say, fuck, that's not, I thought it was true, but it's not true. What is true? Number 6, truth needs no defense, nor does it impose itself. This is how you can tell a true truth seeker. I met this this Japanese fellow in Whitehorse, and he spent like, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks alone in the woods by himself, and came back, and like you could just look at this man and you could tell that this man knew something that most people don't. Did he ever impose his ideas without being asked? No, not that I saw. And guess what? Everyone else was not aware of this person's spiritual dynamic. Nobody realized that they had an opportunity to learn something very substantial. So he left, went back to Japan, and pursued God knows what, and they left back to their silly little relationships, their boyfriends and girlfriends, and all the rest of it, which more or less probably won't be a whole lot of fun in the long run. Truth needs no defense, nor does it impose itself. And seventhly, we move on. Seventh one in the first list was society moves on. Well, no, the truth seekers will never be part of society in an immense sense. They will always be a small minority. How small that minority, God only knows. Will they actually connect with each other? Well, I think right now we're at a point in history where God is going to make people connect with each other. You're going to wake up and things are going to be a little bit different. And what I see these beautiful, beautiful people who feel no need to connect. And all I can say is good luck with that. Because if you read the Old Testament, all the Old Testament is about is God's always speaking not to an individual, he's speaking to a community. So as individuals, people move on. And we form our own little nation. People around the world awakened, glowing, broken, hurt, disturbed, full of pain, yet loving, and full of a joy of a greater eternity than the one we are experiencing at this point. Ultimately, it comes down to this. Where does evil grow? It grows where love is not. The love has to pursue and fulfill its calling. Love is an active thing. It does not sit around and allow life to pass by. So ultimately, we got to live love.